My name is Craig. This is my life, my story bound together into one video. I am a person. I was born into the world just as everyone else was. No trickery, no evil, no malice, a normal birth. I experienced the same things as everyone else. School, love, hate, fear. This is just one of the incidents of hate crime I experienced. This is the worst day of my life. I was 16 when it happened. Barely an adult, yet I was subject to this ordeal. I was coming home from an LGBT youth group named Shout. It was quite late, so I quickly passed by the usual drunks and partygoers of Glasgow. My first mistake was boarding the 40 bus. As I travelled through town towards my home, with the smell of McDonald's and damp lingering in the cold night air, I seen two young people I recognised, so I took out my earphones. I usually took out my earphones to block out the usual crap of the later buses, and my ears were particularly well tuned due to a lifetime of homophobic bullying, and I could hear the clinking of Buckfast bottles from several miles away. Just then I heard "Oh, hit him from behind," which I later learned came from two boys I'd recognised. I knew I was trapped. They would follow me regardless of where I got off. I'd never had any problems with that bus previous to the night. I walked up the road expecting a feeble punch, but instead was faced with a glass bottle making contact, or gingy bottle as my neighbourhood called it. I swung round in a failed attempt of hitting one. I ran up towards a friend who stayed near where I was, but after continuous knocking of his door with no reply, I gave up and ran home, blood pouring from my face, with them following me brandishing their glass weapon. Since then, I've become quite quiet and nervous. I've become scared of the area which I grew up in and which held so many happy memories. When I was young, Lanark had always been quite different, but I never thought it would affect me just because I'm different. My friends have always been the steering force behind who I have become, and without them, I would be too scared to leave the house. I'm partly thankful for what happened, as without that experience, I would never have grown and developed the personality traits which make me fabulous. Since then, I have achieved so much more than anyone else. I'm quite proud that I was able to break away from the crime that I was born into, and sometimes wonder, would I still be the shy, introvert and scared boy without the help of my friends, services and family? Would my life be any different, and more importantly, would I be able to survive? It's quite ironic that I was subjected to the same thing I have fought against for the past 4 years. It's given me a deeper understanding of the issue, the chance to reflect on that little piece of me which I desperately tried to escape. The untapped fear which ensues from years of discrimination, and finally I have made myself a much stronger person.
Throughout secondary school, I was really homophobic. I had a best friend, Becky, who had a friend, Kerry, aka the local dyke. She wasn't even a lesbian, she was actually bisexual, but I point blank refused to be seen with her. At first I gave her a chance, but as soon as I was seen with her, the comments started. For a while it was just classmates questioning how I knew her, but then the rumours began about my sexuality. I left school soon after, for different reasons, but suffice to say I never saw her again. During the following summer, I met a girl who, by a strange coincidence, was bisexual. She was so cool and fun, I actually forgot about what I considered her defect. Making a long story short, we got drunk and did some things. Afterwards, I denied it ever happened, because I was ashamed. Not because of what we did, but because I enjoyed it. For a while I was so confused. Then I met a girl who told me about an LGBT youth group, Vivid. I joined her there one night, and for the first time I could honestly accept who I was, because I realised there was a lot more people just like me. The first night at Vivid, we were separated into groups and pieces of paper were passed around where we each wrote positive comments about the other members. I was so moved by the whole optimism of the group, and of course the comments I got. I felt like I definitely belonged there and have ever since. Though my family is still coming to terms with my sexuality, my Vivid family are always here for me, and I'm so immensely grateful for that. Thank you, guys.
Growing up, I always had a good relationship with my mum. My mum was very open-minded and had gay friends, and like any normal parent-child relationship, her opinions and beliefs passed on to me. So I grew up knowing that it was okay to be gay. So because of that, I didn't go through that denial or self-hating phase. When I was growing up, I had these stereotypical thoughts and interests of a gay guy, and thought to myself, am I or am I not? Everything has been amazing with my mum. We've always had a really good, close relationship. Growing up, it was just me, my brother, and my mum. In my teens, she was always very straight to the point and never sugarcoated stuff. She says to me, anytime you want to talk about anything, I'm free. All through my teenage years, I acted very camp, let's say. She never gave me into trouble about it. She just let me discover it for myself. I came out to her one day when she asked me in the car. I just said yes. It was amazing. As soon as that happened, our relationship became much closer and stronger. I've always been popular with the girls. Get right in there and have a laugh. And with my personality, I do not care what people think of me. If they don't like something about me, then that's up to them. The best friend I've ever had is straight, and her name's Gemma. She's incredibly open-minded. I like the relationship I have with Gemma, and it's a relationship I have with my mum I like most of all. It's like a teenager's fairy tale because I can talk to my mum about everything and anything without judgment.
A mother's love, a mother's acceptance. What's the price of acceptance? A life of lies? Is it really worth it? My whole life changed outside this shop, hit in the face and told to leave home. Everything looked dark. What would I do? Where would I live? How would I cope? School? Work? Living? The next year would prove difficult, but I coped. Through losing my whole world, getting back on my feet with friends and true family, I'm a better person. They say the stage is a marvellous place to find yourself. This is true. I have found myself. Through troubled times, I am me, who I want to be. Myself. Accepted.
People have always asked me, what is it like having a twin? That was usually followed by, I bet it's so annoying. Well, half true. Yes, it does become irritating from time to time, but I have always considered myself lucky. Because even on rainy days, when I couldn't go out with friends, he was always there. My twin brother and I always did everything together. Even in my earliest memories, we shared the same toys, the same bedroom, and even the same experiences. So that when the time came to tell my parents I was gay, I wasn't surprised to hear that my brother had done the same. Before then, in high school, we were very close. It helped having someone that you completely trusted, especially during those often dire teenage years. Though we supported each other, the idea of sexuality in relationships was completely oblivious between us. So we locked each other out. This self-alienation became staggering. My schoolwork and social skills were deteriorating. I asked my mother to take me to the doctors to help me find out what was wrong, because at that point I was challenging my own state of mind. Was I gay at all? That combined with my self-consciousness and minor depression, the frustration dominated my life. So that when the time came for us both to come out, it was a huge relief. The concealment of sex was no longer a burden, and also many of the anxieties which I had faded away. Soon after that, my brother invited me to a group he'd been attending for a few weeks, an LGBT youth group called Vivid. There, I became more comfortable around not only my own sexuality, but more importantly, my brother's. I had never felt so confident in my life until now. Eventually, my brother and I realised what had been true before, which had become blurred, had now redefined. That we had a bond so intense that not even friends, lovers, or even family can breach. Like hedgehogs, we were the only people completely compatible with one another. An impenetrable partnership that hopefully is all the support we will both ever need to take on life.
I was 14. Me and my sister weren't that close, but I always knew she would stand by me. That's how I knew I could come out to her, but I was scared. Scared in case I lost my family. Eventually I became more comfortable with myself. I ended up sleeping with a woman who was one of Caroling's pals. I don't know how Caroling knew I'd slept with her pal, but she knew and she wasn't happy. She confronted me and asked, "Are you a lesbian?" I replied, "Yup." After that we spoke about how we were going to tell my ma. I felt as though it wasn't just me that had to go through what my mum was going to say or do. I was terrified, but Caroling held me together. I turned 15 and one day my mum's pal came into my room and said, "Are you gay?" I replied, "It's nothing to do with you." Then he said, "No matter what, me and your mum will stand by you." I said, "Yes, I'm gay, but it's not as if I've got any choice." Well, I wasn't expecting that to be that easy, but it was over with. A couple of months later, my friend told me about the centre it was for LGBT youths. So I popped in and spoke to Hugh, the team leader. He was very helpful. He explained to me about the youth group. I went along to the group. I felt more normal there. I met a lot of new people and then became friends. Coming out for me was terrifying, but I'm lucky I have a family that understand what I was going through. My sister stood by me. Now it's my turn to stand by her because she needs me to support her.
High school was, as it is for most, terrible. I hated every moment. Pretending to be something I was not got harder and harder every day. Then I met a girl that I just couldn't help but let bits and pieces slip all the time. She made me feel so comfortable that I just couldn't deny who I was anymore. Her name was Laura. I first met Laura in second year of high school, but never really spoke to her. However, in third year, I was doing a course in modern studies, and by some cruel twist of fate, I ended up sitting beside her in class. So, for 2 years, I sat beside the girl who changed everything, my best friend. Still to this day, I wonder where I would be if that teacher hadn't sat me right beside her. At first, I didn't know how to take Laura. She was one of those girls who was good with her studies and did her work, but if she was bored halfway through class, she'd start drawing in that manga style she held so close to her heart. So, me and Laura got to know each other slowly. First, she introduced me to things she liked, and I developed a taste for things like Japanese culture, black clothing, movies that I was never allowed to see, and then the thing that changed me the most. I started hanging around with Laura in the summer between third and fourth year. We spent all our time together, listening to rock music and general messing around. The music that she played to me changed my view on everything. We talked about everything. She completely woke me up, slapped me about, and told me not to care no matter what people thought. She showed me everything I wasn't allowed to see, and opened me up to the world. I was quite shocked to start with. Then I developed into the person I wanted to be. The music side of life she showed me completely changed me. There was another side to life that you could show emotion as a man. Really, she showed me that everything I'd been told that was wrong or not allowed to do was fine. I couldn't watch movies that my mother didn't like or think appropriate. She was overprotective, but then her mental health deteriorated and her behaviour became erratic. I couldn't do anything without boundaries and rules. I felt so suffocated. It got so bad that if I wanted to see something that wasn't seen as appropriate, I had to watch it in the dead of night, on my bedroom TV, on the worst picture imaginable, straining my eyes to see the faintest picture. Being with Laura was my escape. For years I struggled with my sexuality. I hated it. Purely because I had been told it was wrong and that sex in general was a no-no. When I finally was pulled kicking and screaming out of the closet by another friend of mine, Kane, I decided it was time to come to terms with it. Because, as Laura said, who the hell cares? So I slowly came out to my friends one by one, and finally it was time to tell Laura. To my immense relief, she was fine with him. More than that, she became my fag hag. For a few years, myself and Laura experienced World Gay together. Then, through her support, I ventured myself and loving every moment of my new life.
To look at these photographs and say it is me, I would have to disagree. I don't see me. This is no portrait of who I am, simply the canvas, the foundation of who I eventually would become, and all I am yet to be. I'd rather say it is my youth, both physically and metaphorically. I am in innocence. I had such a happy childhood. However, one thing did puzzle me. The arrival of romance to the school playground. This was, I remember, an awkward period for me. I remember vividly my fear of going to school discos, how I dreaded those. I felt a discomfort interacting with the females in that way. My teenage years seemed to add more to this discomfort. While the other boys indulged in their fascinations with the opposite sex, I displayed almost no interest in them. I could not see them as my peers did. I had, at times, I remember, tried to convince myself that it was an interest I had yet to grow into, that I was trailing behind the other boys, but it didn't seem to work. The interest seemed forced and felt uncomfortable. Adolescence provided no relief, and added to that, the discovery of masturbation, matters only seemed to worsen. I began to struggle with myself. Identifying who I was became far more complicated. It always boiled down to two things: men and women. I found a comfort in women and a constant unease around men. It gradually occurred to me. Men, those gorgeous men, kindled in me a passionate fire that burnt deep, but I didn't feel warmed by this flame. It initially seemed more like a house fire, a fireball that burnt through my life. I doused the blaze, but it would never die, but I'd never let it go out of hand. The fire was all those feelings I was told in the playground that were weird, laughable, and different. So I hid them. I ran away with them. I separated myself from society and existed in silence, with only those locked up feelings as my companions. And feelings are not very good companions. They nag and they nag and they howl, but most are never heard. Not only were these feelings trapped within me, but they grew louder and larger. And as I tried to conceal them, I too grew larger. I stretched to contain them. I grew, and eventually found myself pressed up against the walls of my self-created prison. I stretched to fill every ounce of space. I became like a balloon, tense and on the verge of exploding, frightened of bursting and revealing what I truly was. But then, two rather interesting people entered my life. I found a comfort in these strangers. Confiding in them seemed easy. There was no reason for me to hide from them. I revealed to them what I had hidden away for so long. I revealed myself. To my surprise, I discovered that one of my new friends was also gay. I now had a solid link with another human being that broke through the veil of pretense. A light had passed into my life, and I bathed in its warmth, in its love. I embraced it. It was empowering. It broke down the walls and led me to freedom, and there I beheld a greater and larger world. My world now bloomed in vivid colour. I am who I am. I am gay, but I am also a number of other things. It is one part of who I am, one piece of the collage, an element of the portrait. This is my true life's work. By no means is it complete. It never will be. It is an ever-changing masterpiece, the forever transforming work that betrays my soul.
Санкт-Петербург, Россия. Вы видите красивые здания, реки, природа, жены в лимузинах, история, Петр I и Анастасия. Я вижу алкоголики на улицах, избитые мужчины, которые лежат на дороге с красными надутыми лицами. Дети в одежде, которые им дали мамы и папы, братья и сестры. Старые женщины, которые лежат под этими красивыми зданиями. Если посмотреть близко, они вообще распадаются. Они сидят там с иконами и плачут сухие слезы от этого загрязненного воздуха. Это Россия. Не рисунок из открытки, настоящие люди с настоящими проблемами. Вы видите улицы покрытым снегом. Все в шерстяных шапках поют и танцуют. Я вижу невыносимое горячее лето, пыльный воздух и газы, которые портят легкие и убивают людей. Дети, родители, им некуда ехать, у них нету денег.
tak że nastajując doma i pił odpakanie zabójć swoje ból. I arrived in Scotland, went to school and made friends. My best experiences seemed to be in Glasgow. I don't know why, but I just felt more comfortable. The art, the fashion, and of course, Glasgow School of Art. Unlike the little town I live in Glasgow, there are many different types of people. In my town, I feel like I'm climbing up a ladder. Here in Glasgow, I feel more at home. I sometimes get knocked down, but I always climb back up, and I know through hard work and dedication, I will get to Glasgow School of Art, get the thing I've always dreamed of, study fashion, and be the great fashion designer that I want to be. I believe when people really want something, they should go out and get it. And along the way, if they can figure out who they are as a person and accept it, well, that's just fabulous.
そばにいても離さないねこのままで笑って Kiss me, kiss me 僕だけに Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me いつまでも Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me 僕だけに Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me いつまでも Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me 君だけに